Okay, my name is Paul Julian, and my partner here is Joe Davey. We're both part of the Veterans History Project that is out of the Veterans Memorial Center in Merritt Island, Florida. I'm interviewing Mr. Robert Pittman, one of our heroes, local heroes. It is 10:30 a.m. on June 8th, 2023. And with that, I'd like to start, Bob, with, and can you hear me? Hear me, Bob? Let me get a little closer.
Yeah.
Let me get a little closer. All right. Can you hear me now, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Bob, where were you born?
In Vico, Kentucky.
Okay. And the who were your parents, and what were their occupations? Who were your parents, and what were their occupations?
Okay. My mother was a Beulah, and my dad was Ova D. Pittman, and
What did they do? What did they do for a living?
and Dad was a coal miner, and Mom was a housewife.
Housewife. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had two brothers, and older and younger, and one sister.
One sister. And Bob, did any of them serve?
Yes, the two guys served in the older one in the Marines and the younger one in the Air Force.
Okay. The older one, did he serve during any wars?
Probably not. He was in Korea.
Okay.
He did go over there,
Okay.
and he had got a number of medals.
Okay.
But I'm not sure
Not sure.
what they were.
And Bob, how about your younger brother?
He was in the Air Force, and he was up in New York,
Okay.
Rome, New York, and I doubt that he served in
In Korea.
combat.
Okay. And going with back to your parents, did they have any particular feelings? In your case, starting with Korea, the Korean War, did they have any feelings about it? About you joining the service?
My mother was very concerned. Dad didn't. He didn't express it one way or another, but Mom did not want me to go.
Okay. And how about your sisters? Or your sister?
Yeah. She was too young
To really,
and
to really realize what was. Okay.
to realize what was going on. Yeah.
Okay. Did so, Bob? Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Okay.
But understand this, I graduated in the Navy through correspondence.
Oh, okay.
I did not graduate in the classical sense.
Okay. And did you hold any jobs before joining? Did you hold any jobs, Bob?
Yeah, I drove a truck.
You drove a truck. Okay. Did it look like you wanted to do that long term or no?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Then what we'll do, Bob, now is we'll move into the early days of your service. Could you tell us when you went into the military? Could you tell us?
Spring of 51.
Okay. Spring of 51. And why did you join? Knowing that, I mean, you were old enough to know that there was hostility.
To keep from getting drafted.
Okay. I hear that.
Because I couldn't tolerate the idea of being drafted.
Okay,
And if the country needs me, then I'm a volunteer.
okay. And I hear that a lot, Bob. I
Yeah,
hear that a lot.
well,
Yeah,
I felt very strongly
yeah,
toward that. Yeah.
yes. And did you leave behind, Bob, did you leave behind like besides your family, did you have like any a significant other? Did you have like a girlfriend or a wife or before you left? Did you have?
I'm trying to think of when I got married. Geez, I think I had the wife
Okay, right around the time.
right along with the early Navy time.
Okay, so
So,
you maybe got married early part of your Navy service.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And of course, now you've said that, you know, you entered the Navy. So you didn't want to be drafted, you wanted to be the master of your own fate as far as that goes. Why did you choose the Navy?
Well, I suppose that I was impressed with the uniform,
A lot of Marines say that.
and I kind of sort of wanted to go to sea,
Okay.
and I wanted to
See the world?
ride an ocean
Yes, sir.
and see the world. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We just covered that you were in the medical corps, and as far as a specialty, you did dental, right? Now-
Exactly, yeah.
Back then, Bob, were you, could you possibly, if they needed, like corpsmen, could you possibly have been detailed to be a corpsman if they needed you?
Well, yes,
Okay.
I believe that
They could-
we were secondary corpsmen
Okay.
and primarily a dental
Yes, sir.
assistant. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, as far, you know, staying with training, do you have a vivid memory of your time in training? Do you have any memories? You know, anything that you can think of that kind of still stayed in your mind as far as going through the corpsman training and the dental training, anything?
Well, the only thing that occurs to me is that the training was complete, and that it made one ready to serve a doctor.
To support a doctor.
Which, essentially, you were assistant to the doctor, and it made the training made one function as the assistant to the dentist.
So you thought it was pretty thorough training?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and it sounds, but the way you're talking, it sounds like it was pretty serious. There wasn't any kind of.
It was
was
dead
serious?
serious,
Dead
yeah,
serious.
dead serious.
So, what would you say was the best part of the training, the corpsman training? You know, what was the best part? This that you said, Bob, that is thorough, and you know very thorough and complete, right? It had just about everything to assist a doctor, right?
Well, as a matter of fact, when you finished the training, you could go into a unit and function as a doctor's assistant.
Okay, okay. So it would probably back in that time, you could probably end up being a EMT, right? You probably
Oh
had,
yeah, oh yes. I think that
it would have been no problem.
no problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was the worst part of the training? Was it like hard, very hard?
Well, it seemed hard at the
Yeah.
time.
Yes, sir.
Looking back, it was not hard,
Okay.
but it seemed hard at the time. And
Okay.
I don't know which part of it was worse
Okay.
or not.
But you had to focus. You
You
couldn't-
had to focus, yeah.
Yeah.
And
If it's back in the Navy when I was in, if you know, being this your A school, if you didn't make it, you're back to chip and paint and swabbing decks.
Yes, it just
So
chip
that
and
was
paint. And chip and paint is not fun. So nobody wants to do that.
Was there any particular instructor that stood out in your mind that you had a impact for better or for worse?
Well, I thought that all of them were quite good, and I don't know
Dedicated.
that any one stands out
Okay.
in my mind. Yeah.
Okay. And so let's now go into applying your training. What was your first assignment?
At Camp Pendleton.
Camp Pendleton?
At a dental clinic.
Camp Pendleton, and that's out in California, right?
Yes.
And that's Southern California, and that was kind of interesting because Korea was going on, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And did you ever think about maybe you might end up in Korea?
Well, I thought about it daily, and it never happened.
Okay. And now, so you had corpsman training. Did you receive, back then, did they consider dental training as being specialized?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the dental training primarily was what I did. I was a secondary corpsman.
Okay. Did you have, besides boot camp and the medical dental training, did you have any other type of training?
No,
Okay.
Really.
Okay, that's enough. I know that's
really
enough.
didn't, yeah.
I know that's enough. Okay. So you qualified to be like, did you qualify on any type of equipment or anything like that? Medical
Only,
equipment. Medical.
X-ray.
X-ray?
X-ray was quite good at it,
Okay.
and I don't know of any other
Okay.
machineries
Okay.
that we participated in.
Okay. Through making it through medical dental school, did you get a promotion out of it or no?
Well, yeah, I think I
You
did.
came in, you were E1.
I don't know that you credit the promotion with the
that time and
job
training.
as such, but as a matter of fact, I made third class
Oh.
upon finishing the dental school.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an achievement.
Yeah.
It took me like a year and a half to get third class. What was the? Yeah, we'll take a second here and show Bob's awards. Just a second. Right here. And could you turn that around for Bob? And Bob, is there any particular award in there that you really like? That you really, any particular one that?
Well, is that one?
That one is.
That's the commendation medal.
Oh, okay.
Which this one and this one requires time,
Okay.
and this one
Requires behavior and
behavior,
performance.
and effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some of those others, I don't remember.
Okay.
What the hell they were.
Okay. And this one here is right after, as you, you achieved and finished medical dental school. You got that one. Third class.
Well, actually, coming out of medical school, dental school, I got this one, and subsequently got that
Quickly
one.
got that one. Okay.
And then this one was
A little bit
further
later.
on.
Okay.
And,
Maybe a half a year or a year.
I actually made first class, 3 stripes.
Oh, you did actually make first class?
Well, but I didn't stay long enough
To put it on.
Put it on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what I would say, Joe? Just leave that. I would just leave that for there, because we'll get back to that, because I know that there's another service involved. So, thanks, Joe. What was the hardest part? Now this is kind of a general question. Bob, what was the hardest part of transitioning or converting from civilian to military? That's a general question. Was there, like, did you consider, like, there was any particular hard part?
Well, I suppose that the hardest part was to recognize the authority. And I was kind of a wild young person, and was on my own.
Independent. You're very independent.
Very independent.
Yeah.
And that was hard to come out of.
So thank you for being candid. I mean, and because I know I had some issues initially as well. But
Well, and obviously, I made all the
conformed.
stripes that
Yeah.
that I could make.
Yeah.
But and I realized the game I was in, and
You make adjustments. Made adjustments.
made adjustments.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. What was and then going on the other side, was there like what was the easiest part of now being a sailor, a Navy sailor?
Well, wearing the uniform, I found no problem with that.
Okay, okay. Now what we'll do is we'll go in now into wartime service. I mean, we're talking about the time, not necessarily that you were in battle.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came in 51. I know the Korean War went to 53.
Yeah.
Did you? And you said that you never were in country.
No.
Okay. So your first assignment was Camp Pendleton. How long did you stay there?
Probably 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Was it pretty much the whole rest of the enlistment for the Navy?
Well, I actually finished up on board ship, so somewhere between that.
Okay, so close.
Yeah.
So in
yeah.
other words, you spent the lion's share of your time at Pendleton.
Yes. Yes.
And you probably, I don't want to assume anything, but you probably were there, Bob, taking a slot up from somebody that's out supporting somebody that's actually in Korea, right? Because that was so
yeah.
close.
Oh yeah. That was no
Yeah.
question
You
about that.
backfilled. You're
yeah.
fortunate. Yeah.
Backfilling. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, and then sometime before you got out, you went to a ship, right?
Yes, with the USS Nereus and
Nereus.
the Noble.
Okay. And the Nereus and the Noble, and the Nereus, were you were part of the medical team, and did you basically did dental?
Well, fundamentally, I did dental at both of them.
Okay. You
yeah,
were a
yeah.
general corpsman.
Yeah, dental
Oh.
corpsman. Yeah.
Okay.
The USS Nereus was attached to the submarine business, and then the Noble was troop movement.
Troop movement.
Yeah.
Well, let me digress back to the Nereus. The Nereus, was it like a tender?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I was
tender.
on a regular surface ship tender called
yeah.
the Jason. That
Yeah.
was down in San Diego
Yeah.
when I was in. And then the Noble, that was a troop ship, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have let's start at Pendleton. Did you have like any memories, any recollections of that experience?
Well, I was reasonably happy at that particular time, so I presume that it
was positive.
went okay.
Okay. Now let's jump to, and I know you were ended up in the Air Force, but the Nereus, was it also pretty decent? I mean, you had to get underway. You had to get underway a little bit.
And I remember the lieutenant commander who was in charge of the dental operation that we had on the Nereus was less than great guy. Let me say this.
Couching it there, couching it.
And he created some problems for me.
Yeah, and you were pretty happy. Did you leave or did he leave? How did you?
Well, I left.
Yeah, pretty happy when you left there.
Oh, yeah.
Then on the Noble, how was that experience?
That was fine.
Fine.
As a matter of fact, I was the medical team with an assistant that existed on the.
So you pretty much were the leading petty officer.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. In either, I know about Pendleton, but in with the Nereus or the Noble, did you make any cruises? Did you make a Westpac?
Well, we went to Hawaii and west of Hawaii to French frigate shoals. That's the name of the damn thing. I don't even know who it is, where it is.
Frigate shoals?
French frigate shoals.
French frigate shoals.
Yeah, we were on board ship going out there, west of Hawaii.
Okay.
And
Little chain of islands off
Oh,
the
is it?
Yeah.
the other ship that I was on, the Noble, was simply up and down the coast.
Okay. Just on patrol and whatever.
Yeah.
Available if you needed it. It was basically support.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Did you what kind of friendships did you form any friendships when you were during your Navy active service? Did you form any friendships?
Not lasting. I don't remember specifically now, but obviously functioning, working daily
camaraderie.
with persons.
It's just natural.
Yeah, it's just natural, yeah.
And did you stay in touch with family and friends? Were you able to do that?
Yes.
Both Pendleton, Nereus, and Noble. You're able to? Decent?
Oh, yeah.
Mail?
No, I was able to maintain contact with the wife.
Okay.
And
But at this point, your wife was in the picture. She was
Yes.
over with you in when you were on the West Coast and
yeah.
Okay.
And all that. Now my family, mother and father and so forth, were back in Kentucky.
Okay. Okay. Did you have any? I know in Pendleton it was probably not difficult, but at Nereus and Noble on the ships, were you able to, have fun? You were able to have recreation?
Oh yeah. Well, there was a considerable recreation department,
Okay.
and it was pool.
Oh.
When you were in port.
Okay.
Obviously,
Not so much when you're underway.
It's underway.
Yes, sir.
And but pool room was a big thing, and
So you were able to have a little fun and get out. So.
oh yeah.
Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events? Humorous or unusual? Any? No.
I just don't.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Did you have I'm going to ask you that. So, as far as the Navy service, what was the best part of that service?
The visit to Hawaii was the outstanding
Okay, nice trip.
thingamajig, yeah.
Beautiful place.
It's a beautiful trip, and not too long, and everything was just right.
Okay.
And
All right, so, Bob, when you left, so you went ahead, I don't know, was it 4 or 5 years? What were you, how many years were you in the Navy?
4 years active, and then 4 years inactive.
Okay, so then when, now I see that you were in the Air Force. Well, tell me about, between, what did you do between, the active Navy service and then joining the Air Force? What did you do?
Primarily education. I managed to get back and forth, particular participating in school as opposed to
Working or trade?
working on my own.
I see.
And I managed to get a degree
Okay.
and I managed to get a commission.
Did you stay, Bob, did you stay in the medical field or no?
Yes.
Oh, so what kind of degree did you?
I suppose it was primarily biology.
Biology?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And, so, sir, you went ahead, how long were you, how long was it between the end of the naval service and the beginning of your Air Force career? How long was it? Said another way, how long did it take you to get your degree?
I hadn't thought about that.
Well, how's this, Bob? So math tells me you got out about 55, right? You got out of the Navy about 1955?
56.
56.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you went into the Air Force?
61.
61, that's not a lot of time. So basically, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And in that time, you got a bachelor's in biology?
Yeah, yeah.
And you were thinking, during that time, did you contemplate, hey, I think I'm going to give this service another try? Did you contemplate that, or did you think you were going to be a teacher, or what?
No. As a matter of fact, I intended to make a service career.
Okay, so let's segue from why the Air Force? Now we're gonna, why the Air Force? Why not go back?
Well, the Navy goes to sea, and I did not want to leave the wife,
Okay,
and so I looked at the Air Force as a alternate to the Navy thing.
more amenable to having a
Yes.
family,
Yeah,
a stable
absolutely,
family.
yeah.
Okay. So you get your degree, and then how did you end up? Did you go to an Air Force recruiter, or did he come to you, or she come to you, or what?
Well, I suppose that we sort of met. He came by my house, and I came to his office.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that the Air Force was right for me.
Okay, and and it goes without asking, Bob, but I'll ask. You didn't see what the Army or what the Corps, you're pretty much interested in what the Air Force would provide you. For one, it would provide you more stable family life, and there's probably other aspects to where you didn't even consider the Marine Corps, the Army.
No.
Okay.
I did not consider other than the Navy.
Okay. So you, and then now because due to you had a degree, there were, how did you, so you signed up, and is there like an initial sign-up period that you had to, I know you're not enlisted, but was there initial commitment? What was the commitment when you went in the Air Force? Was it?
Well, accepting the commission
Yeah.
to start with. And that says that you are likely to be called to duty.
Okay,
And so I would say the commission.
okay. So said another way, there's no really, it's not like an enlistment. There's not like, okay,
No.
you enlist for 1 year, you enlist for 6 years, none
No.
of that. Okay.
No.
So you made the commitment for the Air Force, and where did you initially go?
Well, I was at Roswell in New Mexico at the time that I accepted the commission, and then I went to Colorado Springs.
Okay, and then you were in Colorado Springs. Was it? Did it make any difference? You know, I know you're going from enlisted to officer, but did you have to go through like OCS?
Yes,
Okay.
I did go to OCS.
And that was in Colorado Springs? Or West?
That was back in San Antonio, I think.
San Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long was it? Few
3 months.
3 months? Okay. What did you think of the training? Was it
Well, I thought it was fine.
fine? Okay. They probably treated you a little more respect than enlisted, right? Probably.
Well, yes.
Do you have any vivid memory of the OCS training? Anything that sticks out?
No,
Okay.
not specific, no.
Okay. No particular instructor sticks out in your mind?
No.
Okay. So once you get through OCS, what was your next assignment?
Damn.
What was
It was,
did you have like a specialty school? What were you, Bob? What did you do for the Air Force? What was your, what was your function? What was your job?
well, primarily it was technical in nature.
Technical? Oh, so it's not medical?
No,
Okay.
it's technical and
Was it dealing with missiles?
yes,
Okay. Okay.
to do with missiles all the way.
Okay.
And
And so you got some training in missile technology, and because
Oh,
of
yeah.
your biology background, they knew you had the mind.
well, as a matter of fact, I earned the missile.
Yeah.
Well, there, all the way up to star,
Right up to here.
up to the star with the wreath. Yeah,
Okay. Right here.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you remember? Was it a long training or?
No,
No.
well, what is long training?
Several months?
Several months, no.
No, okay. And then you mentioned about being down in the hole. Was that your assignment in New Mexico? Was your assignment
Yes.
in a silo?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
that was with the Atlas missile. Yes,
The Atlas missile, which, yeah, and they're talking about replacing the Atlas rocket. That's kind of interesting. I saw it in the news.
Yeah.
So that particular assignment, were you in a silo, Bob? Was it a couple years or a year? Or?
well, it was a little less than 2 years.
A little less than 2 years?
Yeah.
And then, where did you go from there?
Damn,
No? Okay.
I hadn't thought about that.
Well, Bob, how many years altogether were you in the Air Force?
Good Lord, from 51 until 86.
Oh my gosh, okay. All right, so let's just go general then. So 56, and then
That's 20 years. 20 years?
20 years.
Yeah,
And then the Vietnam, you know, was the first one that I could think of. It started around like early mid-60s, right? Were you involved in, did you end up in Vietnam?
No,
No? Okay.
that's easy, no.
Okay. Um, the, let's just say that, and then it says here, then you went to 86, so back around in the early to mid 80s, we had the Middle East kind of started to get fired up. You know, we had to escort, I know there was one time we had to escort ships through the Persian Gulf and all that.
Yeah.
So, from any memories, so during your Air Force career, did you spend it basically manning the missile silos, or did you do other things? Do you remember anything else you did?
Well, we certainly was in the
Oh,
silo.
wait a second. This hit. It wasn't the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1961.
Yes,
Did you remember any about that?
yes.
And tell me what you remember.
Well, I remember being advised of the thing and what the problem was.
Were you at the time? Were you in the Air Force at the time?
Yes,
And where were you? Do you remember where you were at? Were you in
61.
New Mexico?
I was in New Mexico, yeah.
Did they? You heard about it? And they said you might. They, you know, it was a pretty tense, huh? Pretty tense.
Well, I didn't feel threatened to be moved in support of that thing.
Okay. But in general, the Air Force was really, they were on the ready. They were standing by. Right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then 61, and then the next thing that comes. Well, after you were in New Mexico, do you remember generally what memories do you have after New Mexico, Air Force wise?
Well, I went to Orlando,
Okay.
and I was an air policeman
Air policeman.
in Orlando.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that the predecessor? Was that McCoy?
Yes.
Oh, so
Yep.
it was McCoy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, so you were like a policeman on the base?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Or actually the station, or what would we call air? You were a policeman
Station, yeah.
on the Air Force station. You were a policeman. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did that last?
A few months.
Few months?
As it were. And
I forgot when McCoy became they turned it over. Probably I don't know if it was base closure or whatever, where McCoy became Orlando International, but
yeah.
I know initially it started off as
Well,
Spring.
the runway was shared equally
Oh, it was?
between the civilian guy and the military
Oh,
guy.
okay. After that assignment, Bob, what else, do you remember anything else with the Air Force? Let's see, we have Ascension, but I don't know if that goes into your space career, and Ascension, it looks like the island of Ascension, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I was down there in 51,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and
Okay.
I don't remember any
That's right.
details of.
That's all right. So, nothing more about the Air Force, right, that you remember? Did you, can you tell me, you recall the day that you decided to get out of the Air Force in '86, the day you retired?
Well, yeah, I would run out of time.
Yeah.
I had 30-some years in service and so forth, and it was due to retirement.
Okay.
So
And do you remember where you were when the service ended? Were you processed out? Okay, I'm done with the Air Force. I'm going to go.
Processed out.
Were you when you left? Okay, this is it. I did my time, and I'm
Well, I was in
gonna go
California.
inactive, probably inactive
It was probably in California.
in California.
Yeah.
And did you return home or
No.
no?
I would return to Florida.
Return to Florida. Okay.
And home being Kentucky or Ohio, and
You didn't return.
haven't ever been there.
Okay. Were you, and so you and your family kind of, you and your wife, I don't know, did you have children by then?
Oh yes, with 2 girls and a boy.
And that, Bob, then you had to, so that had to be a collective decision with you and your wife as to, hey, what are we gonna do now, right?
Well, yeah, and we decided to move to Florida.
And it moved to Florida, Bob, because of the budding space program? Is that why you
No,
moved?
no, it was family reasons.
Okay.
Period. Yeah.
Did you come back? So you came to Florida, and so what did you do when you first came? You know, when you got here, what were you doing? Were you working or? Now you're retired, so you could support yourself.
Yeah.
But
God doggone it, isn't that funny?
well, let's do it this way, Bob. When did you get into the space program?
That must have been the
Not far.
period of time that I worked at KSC.
Okay.
It must have been.
Did you were you work for Air Force, NASA, or did you work for a contractor?
I did not work for a contractor.
Okay.
So
Air Force.
I suppose that the Air Force part time and the NASA part time.
Oh, okay. And did that part time between Air Force and NASA? Did that end up being full time for a while? Did it get into a full time job initially, or eventually, I should say?
No, I don't think so.
You just did part time.
As a matter of fact, there were politics associated with that.
Yes.
And the Air Force did not want to give up control of the part that they controlled, and NASA didn't want to either.
So is that now? Well, my memory, since I was out there during the time, is that when they were splitting the cost of the services? Is that, I think that goes back to like '90s, the '90s, where they split the cost. They were working together, and it was a country that comes to mind, EG&G.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were fighting. I remember they were. I worked in the accounting side, and they would argue with each other about whose responsibility to pay for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. That's why they didn't. It went on for I think 10 years or something. No way renewing it. They just went their separate ways after that. In the 2000 era, they said okay, and it took. You know, in the contract business, it took a long time to close that contract because of that reason. But and it was acrimonious. It was crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, NASA came from the Air Force, so it's kind of strange. But so, do you remember how long? Remember, Bob? How long did you work part time for the NASA and the Air Force? Did you work several years or?
Oh boy. I suppose that we never considered NASA being our boss. We never considered that. We always worked for the Air Force.
Okay.
And I suppose that's the way it was, yeah.
Okay. So you remember, so you eventually retired, right? You eventually retired from from doing that work, right?
Yes.
And then do you remember generally what year it was?
86.
86? But I mean, as far as work for the Air Force and NASA, do you remember when you stopped doing that? Was it in the 90s area?
Well, we didn't stop doing work for NASA. I suppose that's wrong.
Yeah.
We didn't answer to NASA. That's true.
Okay.
So
Basically, Air Force was your boss, really.
yes,
And do you remember kind of when you stopped working for them? Now, 86 is when you got out of the Air Force, right?
yeah,
And then you went into like you came here and then you worked part time, right?
yeah.
Do you remember when you stopped working part time with Air Force?
You got it. Must have been in the 90s
90
sometime.
something? Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm
No
a
problem.
little weak to
No
find
problem.
out.
No problem, Bob. All right. So if we can digress back to like the end of your active Air Force duty, the GI Bill? Did you use that after you left the Navy? Use the GI Bill?
No,
No.
I don't recall.
You didn't use your veteran benefits.
No,
don't recall doing it, okay.
I don't remember
Okay.
doing such.
Okay, no big deal. And this is kind of a like a real broad question. Did the Navy and or the Air Force service, did you think it had changed you? Meaning that if you had not gone and served in the Navy or served as an enlisted man and served in the Air Force as an officer, you know, you would be a different person, right? You think if you hadn't been in the service, or no?
Well, I suppose that all of us would be a different person
Yeah.
as a result of military training.
Yes. Yep.
So with that in mind,
It did.
I guess I would say yes.
Okay. And did it? Let's go specific, Bob. Did it? Do you think being in any part of the service, any time you were in, you said about 30 years, do you think it affected the way you relate to other people?
I'm certain it did.
Okay.
Probably is so subtle that one cannot specifically
Yes, sir. Put your
point out
finger on it.
a time, but certainly subtly yes.
The way you relate to people.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, back in the Navy, I mean, you worked directly with people. You know, you were concerned about their health, and then as an Air Force, being an officer, you were a manager. So, two different types of ways to relate. But it probably yeah.
Well, yes.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm a member of the National Veterans Thingamajig, I suppose, but I'm not active.
Okay, not like the Veterans of Foreign Wars or the American Legion or.
No.
Okay. So now we're gonna do. This is the second. We have about like 8 questions left or so. They're really general questions. How has the military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, I think that it has a profound effect. War, some cases, is necessary.
Okay.
It is never wanted.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. So this kind of goes back to, we really talked about this, but how did the military experience, you know, both Navy enlisted and Air Force officer, how did it affect your life? I mean.
Profoundly.
Okay.
I think it it was my life.
Okay, okay, and you basically, Bob, you have positive feelings and positive thoughts and.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's see, 3. What do you wish that people knew about veterans?
I think that they should be more aware of the commitment that these persons have made.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, thank you. And the last question under what we call reflections. Do you have, are there any life lessons that you learned from being in the service, like life lessons?
I think that we've learned to live,
Okay,
and it's just pure and simple.
yes, sir.
We learn to be aware of people. It's certainly there are other ways to do that, but that does it. And
You aware of other people's got, you know,
Yeah.
they have different perspectives. They have, they have different backgrounds, and then based on that, you have to adjust how you relate to them.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yes, sir. Now we're getting really close. Conclusion. Is there anything you've always wanted to share about your service or veterans experience that you never have? Anything?
It's no, because obviously I'm a free talker,
Okay.
and and I don't save anything.
Okay.
Tells it like it is.
Second last question. What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this interview? Anything? And that,
Well, I think that they should definitely participate,
in some way.
and they should go away feeling that they're a better person.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Last one. Now, looking at your story, what would you like people to know or remember? Anything particular about your story? Remember, you were, Navy as an enlisted, and then went ahead and had great initiative. You became
Well,
an officer.
I suppose that and I would want people to recognize that I am a product of military training. I'm a pure product of that.
Okay.
And I suppose that awareness is the thing that I would most send them away with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we, at this point, myself and Joe would like to thank you, Bob, for your service from our heart. And thank you for sitting down with us to tell your story, and which I find is very inspirational. And thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's a long interview. It's a little